So let's start with the easiest method using the A.N.T landscape method. First, what you're going to need to do is go into Edit, Preferences, and go to Get Extension. And then you'll type in Landscape and just go ahead and install it. Once you've installed it, let's go ahead and add another add-on. So go into Add-ons and activate the Node Wrangler, and then you'll see what we do with this. I already have it installed as well. Go ahead and save your preferences and come out. Next, we're going to go ahead and delete our cube. And first, what we want to do is now go ahead and hit Shift A, and we'll get our cube to open a mesh, and you should see landscape at the bottom. Go ahead and hit landscape. Now you see a new mesh appear. Let's go ahead and zoom in, and on the bottom left corner we do have this noise tool that's come up. Of course, the A.N.T, another noise tool. Now the problem is, if you go ahead and click off of it, it disappears. If you lost that, whatever settings you kept will be still intact. So you can just delete that. We'll Shift A again and then hit landscape. So we want to get the dune effect in the desert. So we can actually come into our presets, and you'll see all sorts of beautiful presets here, and go into dunes and select that. Now you see we have some dunes. We can adjust the noise size, the mesh size, the height. So let's do some few adjustments. We can increase the mesh size if we want to, let's say 4 and 4. And we'll do our subdivisions a little bit later. We want to keep this low profile so our computer doesn't chug on memory. Now we can go ahead and adjust the noise size. And the noise size will give us different variations of our dune. I'll set mine to somewhere around here. And the height as well, we can go in and adjust this height so we either have them high dunes or low dunes, as well as subdivisions. So the subdivisions, as you can see, we have it a little bit jagged. Let me go ahead and bring the height up a little bit more. You can see that there's some jaggedness in there. We'll do the subdivisions, let's say 512 by 512. And this will basically smooth it out a little bit more so you can see what we have here. So now that we have a slight desert form, let's go ahead and add some textures. We'll go ahead and click off of that. And now we'll come onto our textures. Maybe we can go ahead and activate our viewport shading here, so we'll see what happens in a moment. And bring your mouse so you can get this small crosshair. When you bring this small crosshair, you can just slide it up there, so we'll have 2 scenes to work in. I'll go ahead and change this little bottom part into the shader editor. This is where we can add color and textures to our deserts. Now we'll go ahead and click new. Let's call this desert matte. And there are a couple of ways we can do this. So first, we're going to add a noise texture. We'll simply go in and hit Shift A. You can also do that by going in here, but you need to get used to what these menus are. Hit Shift A, and in the search put noise and grab the noise texture. We'll go ahead and plug our color into the base color, and you'll see we have these interesting colors that are happening over here. Now what we want to do is connect it to a color ramp. So we'll come in here, we'll connect a color ramp and add that in so it actually makes it black and white. First thing I'll do is select black, and I'll give it a nice brown color, maybe make this a little bit darker here. And then I'll select white and make a slightly lighter brown. That should be good. Now we'll come into the noise texture and let's scale that up to 10. Gives us a little bit more of the swirliness in here. And then we can add a bump node. The bump will actually just kind of give it a little bit more details in there. So after the color ramp, Shift A, put in bump, and we'll have our bump node. And we're going to connect our color to the height, and then our normal to normal. And then we'll set our strength to 0.05. And feel free to try all these dials as you need. You see, the more we add noise, the more depth we get in there. So I'll go 0.5. And then we're gonna go ahead and select our noise texture, and that node wrangler we had, we're using that so we can have a shortcut key to add a texture coordinate. The texture coordinate will match it up to the UVs. So we'll hit Control T, and it gives us our texture coordinate map. Let's go ahead and just add a light so we can see what this looks like. So I'm going to delete this light, and we'll go ahead and put it into our render mode, just up here. We'll hit Shift A, go into light, and hit sunlight. There we go. I will hit G and then Z. G is for grab, Z will bring it up, and you'll notice this little sun icon comes up. If I have it still selected, I hit R, and then I can rotate, and you can see we get some shade. So we use this so we can get a little bit idea of what our deserts and textures look like. Select our desert again. It's a little bit shiny, so I'm going to come into my roughness. The less roughness, the more shiny. Really good for water, but I'm just going to bring it up ever so slightly. And so you can see we have this nice little desert feature going on. So another way we can do this is we can add a sand texture. So what we can do is we can come in and type in sand texture seamless, and we have different types of sand that we have in here. You can select that. You can select one of your sand textures and go ahead and download it. You can also use ChatGPT to create your sand texture. So maybe I might type something like generate a seamless texture of sand that will be used as material in Blender for a desert. Do not include ridges. It's good to know how to use ChatGPT so you can get optimal what you need. So I'll go ahead and I will put that in, and so it's going to generate a sand texture. And look, we have a sand texture that has been generated. So I'm going to go ahead and hit Shift A after it's downloaded and type in image texture, and we'll place that here. We're actually going to replace it where the noise and color ramp is. I'll go ahead and open, and I already have it saved here, so I'll take my sand texture, open it, and it's in there. Now to replace this, I'm going to hit Alt and click this down to move that off, Alt and click to move that away. And then I'll go ahead and replace this, connecting my mapping to the vector here, and then my color again to the base color. And then I'll also plug my color to the height map. So now you see that we have this sandy texture going on. If I go ahead and adjust the texture coordinate, let's say right here, I will click and hold and select these two and just move the number up. So as you can see, it's making the grains much smaller. If I bring it down, grains are much larger. Let's zoom in. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. Maybe I'll change the scale. Yeah, this looks about right. And so now we have a basic texture. Maybe it looks a little too dark. You could go in and add your ramp again so that you can adjust some colors in there. But this also has to do with the sunlight. Let me just show you an add-on I use that will change everything. Well, actually, if I come into the sun, select the sun, come into this bulb and bring the strength up, then you can see I have more of that sandiness, that sandy texture. At the same time, now I'm using a particular add-on. Let's go ahead and delete this. I have a add-on that I use for atmosphere. If I go ahead and select this, this is actually paid for. I'll leave a link in the description so you can check this out. So I have the atmosphere, sun atmosphere. I can move, you can see I have a sky up here. So I can go ahead and bring this down. Let's say maybe the vertical, I'll bring it up so it's a little bit higher. You see? And then you see you can get more of the detail in there. You can move the sun around, get some shade.